most small business owners fail because they refuse to copy what already works.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would actually disagree with that.
Yeah.
The reason why, you mean on YouTube specifically?
On YouTube,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah, because the problem is that most people actually are just copying. I think that's the bigger issue.
Okay.
I think people don't know how to copy, but because I think like for me, I always copy outside of my niche, right? Like that's the number one thing I
Yeah.
teach is like, hey, you know, you need to look outside of your niche, find somewhere where it has a similar audience, but it's not the same niche that you're in. Whereas, you know, other people will look at their niche, they'll look at the most popular videos. Let's say you're trying to teach people about business. You're going to look at Hormozy, take his most popular video, remake that for yourself, and then nobody's going to watch it. The reason why is because YouTube is like a zero-sum game, right? So the person at the top takes all the views while anyone below them loses out on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So I like to look in other niches where there's no competition, but a proven concept that already works with my audience. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like the meta has shifted a little bit. You probably like said something like this closer to like 2 years ago when you were making your videos. But kind of the meta has shifted because in terms of like the mentality of how people go about creating content right now with like GPT, with Claude, or like with all these different tools out there. There's ViewStats, 1 of 10, right? There's my tool out there. There's all these different tools that you can use, makes stealing super easy, right? Because everyone understands, you know, compared to like 2 years ago, everyone understands right now, okay, like you want to see what's working and then replicate it, right? And then it's super easy to copy thumbnails now, super easy to copy titles right now, right? There's people who shamelessly rip off scripts word for word. And that like dilutes the pool. Like the speed at which people can copy content right now, or like steal content or copy what's already working, super quick. I don't know about you, but it's like super quick now, right? Like people see a video 2 days later, they have similar title, similar thumbnail, and they're saturated spaces. Like if I don't know if you've had a look at like the retirement space.
No.
Like the viewers are like above like 55, they like want to retire. There's like 9 competing channels within there, and all of them are above like 100,000 subscribers, and it's just like the race to who can copy who faster, right? There's literally niches like that.
Really?
I've ideated for clients like that, and it's like it's the worst niche to participate in, and it's like all the slop. So like, what would you say is the right way to copy? Because you said that you want to copy, but you don't want to copy within your niche. Like, what's the exact like steps to do that?
For sure. So I call it niche comparison theory. That's my name for it. And so basically what you want to look at, you want to look at your niche, and then you want to analyze what are the desires and who is my audience within my niche, right? And so that could be, let's say you're teaching people how to start a marketing agency, right? So that person who's starting a marketing agency, their desire would be to make more money, right? That's the base desire behind starting a marketing agency. So what you would look for is what other niches have that same desire. What other niches do people want to make more money? Well, you could go into e-commerce. You could go into Amazon FBA. These alternative niches have pretty much the exact same demographic, the exact same audience that cares about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is essentially take proven concepts that were in those other niches, bring them back to your own, and there's no competition. And so one additional step to that is if you're in a smaller niche, so like let's say marketing agencies, and then you go out into e-commerce, which is significantly bigger, that means that there's more competition in e-commerce because the bigger the niche, the more competition.
Yeah.
So what you can do is take ideas from niches that have way more competition because competition breeds innovation, bring them back to where they've never been done in your tiny little niche, and just absolutely crush it.
Okay, so like let's give some examples here. So let's say I'm running a channel that's talking about, let's say like Instagram growth, right? Like what other niches would I look at? Like what's the first thing which comes to mind?
Yeah, YouTube growth, easily.
Okay.
YouTube growth is significantly bigger than Instagram growth, and it's the exact same outcome. I want to grow my social media. Or you look at social media in general, right? So you could look at, for example, Callaway's a great channel, like broad social media growth.
Yeah.
You could take any concept in that channel specifically, or in my channel or your channel, bring that back to Instagram growth and just instantly crush it. Because Instagram growth is such like it's a small niche. It's getting bigger and bigger. The concepts are getting better, but still, even today, it's just like there's not much competition. So if you took a YouTube growth idea, bring it back, 21 Instagram settings that'll blow you out.
Instagram settings is the brain rot. And expanding the brain rot to all the other niches. Pretty good.
That's the move.
Pretty good. Okay, so what if, okay, let's say you're not an Instagram niche, but what if you're in a wider niche, like productivity? Like what else would you look at? Would you look at like the business space? Like, because productivity is like pretty much as broad as it gets.
Yeah.
So how would you look at niches or like see what's working?
That's a good question. At that point, you need to do one of two things. So you can either look at other niches that don't have a similar audience and try to copy outliers from those other niches, which doesn't work quite as well. It's not like as foolproof, but it still works. Or what you can do is what we like to call base theory ideation, where you come up with new ideas.
Okay.
And that's difficult. And that's why competing in a niche like productivity is much harder because you can't trade concepts up the chain and like bring them back down. You have to either make something new or you have to go into another niche and find an outlier, which is a video that has a lot of views, but not a lot of on a channel that doesn't have a lot of subscribers, and then bring that back and hope it works.
For a channel like productivity, would you go outside of YouTube to do that? Because I remember you had this video, it was something like the simple art of storytelling, something like that, right? And that's like inspired by the book, right? The simple art
of not giving a F.
Okay, that's the Mark Manson book. So like, would you look outside, and like how often do you look outside of YouTube?
Yeah, great question. That's like, again, like the next level. So that's coming back to base theory ideation. That's still, I guess, outlier ideation, but it's just a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
I like to do that a lot. I don't do it as much as I should anymore, probably. I'm more looking at outliers now. But when I first started my channel, I wanted to be super, super unique just to build that initial audience. And I was fine if some videos didn't hit. I was okay with that.
Yeah.
So what I did is I took a few gambles. I looked at different book titles. I looked at the top 1,000, most popular books in the world, scrolled through those, figured out which ones I could translate.
Yeah.
I looked at the biggest news headlines of all time. So you can scrape newspapers. That's a really good one. I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And because those are meant to be clickable, right? Like are readable. So you can definitely do it in other places.
Yeah. Well, like, what do you think about like copying the structure of the actual script and then adapting it for a niche? Do you do that too?
Interesting. I personally don't.
Yeah.
But that's because I just have a formula. If you're new and you're still kind of figuring out what works, it's not a bad idea. Like if you copy the structure of that video and make it for your own niche, I've seen that works pretty well as long as you're not doing it word for word. But obviously you're the expert with script writing. I'm curious what you've seen.
Kind of depends, right? So like when you look at like what we've been talking about is like, okay, like looking at what works, that's like outliers. Like you can do the same thing with like the script structure. Like a certain like video title is paired with a certain script structure. And you've seen that like work over and over again, where if you use a similar script structure, like if it's like 40 lessons that you've learned, and then the 40 lessons is explained in a certain way. Let's say it starts with a story, and then there's a payoff, story, payoff, story, payoff. Then you can copy that exact same structure and apply it to your niche. Like that increases the likelihood of it working. And plus it's a lot easier to write the script when you also adapt the script structure alongside the title structure. So in terms of like looking at why a video works, like you don't just look at like title thumbnail like most people do. Like layer deeper is like, okay, like why did the script work? Why do people click on it? And that usually translates to this thing called formats, right? Like repeatable formats at work, right? 40 lessons, or the way that something is explained, story, payoff, story, payoff, story, payoff. In the case of like 40 things that you've learned, that's actually also a good way to write scripts pretty effortlessly, knowing that you've taken the idea from another niche,
100%. I mean, it makes sense. Like if that script structure works